Well, vaqueros, it finally happened, and I finally got my first nuclear, aka 30 gun streak in Modern Warfare 2 with this shotgun to help me along the way, and that is the Bryson 890. Now, of course, I didn't get every single kill from just the 890. I did run out of ammo. I had to get some ammo. I picked up a different gun. When I started to get really nervous about it, I switched to a different gun, but for the most part, a lot of these kills are from the Bryson 890, but I wanted to show off this class in particular because it is so good for being so quick on your feet. It's got great sprint to fire, really awesome aim down sight speed, and it's so good for if you want to be really aggressive and get in people's face. You can be snappy, you can kind of quick scope people with it since you aim so quick. It is such a great setup, and I really encourage you guys to try it. And like I said, it's the class that really helped me get this nuke. So without further ado, let's go into the class and I'll talk about what the attachments are, some alternate attachments you can use, and of course the weapon tuning. So this is the class. If you just want to copy and paste it, there you go. I'll have the attachments later on in the video and you can use the timestamps below for that. But basically, we're going to go over these individually. So first, the Bryson Choke. If you don't know this by now, well, hopefully you do, but the Bryson Choke is basically the best choke for spread. It's going to give you the tightest spread and not really any range unless you tune it. You can tune it to get a little bit more damage range. So it is helpful if you really want that super tight pellet spread, which I usually like. I like having a super tight spread. The other good one is the Bryson Improved Choke because that does give you range along with the tighter pellet spread, and you can increase both of those with the tuning, but I still prefer the Bryson Choke. The reason we're not using a suppressor is because that really hurts your aim down sight speed, and the whole purpose of this is to be a very fast aim down sights build and a very quick on your feet build, so I don't really recommend the suppressors even though they give you the most range. Next up for the lasers, we have a few different options, and there are three I want to point you to, and that is the VOK 7mW, which is my preference, the 7mW canted laser, which is a new laser for the shotguns that came with the new update. Then we have the Point G3P04. So a few different things. You can use any of these. Any of these three lasers are really the go-to for you because they help with both sprint to fire speed and aim down sight speed, about the same as any other laser here, and they're all pretty much equal. It's just that the trade-offs are different. For the VOK 7mW, your laser is going to show when you're aiming. For the canted laser, it's showing all the time, which is kind of intense. And then you have the Point G3P, which is only when you're kind of walking around with the hip, so aiming down sights will turn it off. Really, it's up to you. I prefer the 7mW because it gives me that aim down sight speed bonus, or the 7mW canted laser. That's a really good laser. I'll make a separate video on this in particular for the shotguns, but that's another great alternative. And you basically don't use iron sights with it. You kind of aim from the side. It's a little weird, but it's actually really fun. You'll see it in the gameplay, but also the Point G3P, use that if you really want your tight hip fire. Again, these three are interchangeable. It really just depends on your preference and your style. When it comes to the stocks, of course, we're using the sawed-off mod stock. Now, when I did measure the aim down sight speed and the sprint to fire speeds at 60 frames per second, the stockless pistol grip and the sawed-off mod were basically identical, which probably tells me that the sawed-off mod helped, but just by a little bit more than the stockless pistol grip. I doubt they're exactly the same. It's just that I'm limited by my 60 frames per second, so I would say that the sawed-off mod, I mean, just go with that. It really is the best overall, in my opinion, for being super snappy and getting the most movement speed out of the stocks. Another incredibly useful attachment is the Demo X50 Tactical Pump. This is going to help with the rechambering speed and your aim down sight speed as well, so this makes you shoot faster and it even helps you aim faster. This really is one of the best attachments for the Bryson 890 and the Bryson 800. Really, it's just non-replaceable in my opinion. You can notice a slight difference when you shoot with it. It's noticeably faster, so I always encourage you guys to run this in pretty much every scenario with these shotguns. Now for the last attachment, this one is kind of up to you, but if you really want to be Speedy Gonzalez, use the 5-shell mag because that's going to increase your movement speed, aim down sight, sprint to fire speed, and you do reload a little bit quicker. And if you have fast hands, you are going to be reloading super fast, so it kind of makes up for not having as many rounds. I think you start with 8 in the gun normally, so you're losing 3, but I prefer this because it makes you even snappier. I mean, this whole build is about super aggressive playing. It's about being snappy and quick, and this is how you do it, guys. 5 is more than enough for me. I've got used to it with the combat shotgun, how I'd only had 5, and most of your kills are going to be 1 shots to 2 shots, so you have plenty of ammo and you're going to be reloading in between engagements. You're going to be totally fine with this. The only reason I would see not running this is if you're kind of like my buddy Greg's over there, who loves to get like 8-man feeds or something ridiculous. He likes to play the way I do, and he gets crazy feeds. So if you're like him, you probably don't want the 5-shell because you're going to be wanting to get as many kills as possible as soon as possible. But if you're like me, you can kind of deal with the 5-shell mag. Like, I like it a lot. It really feels good. I wouldn't bother with the 12 round. It's just a little excessive. Like, you really don't need more than 10 or even 8 in my opinion, so I wouldn't really recommend the 12, but it is there. I would say use the 5 or don't use the 5. Now, if you want to use use a different alternative attachment, we're going to check out the underbarrels. And in the underbarrel category, there's a few different ways to go. My preferred way is to use the FSS Shark Fin 90. Why? Because this only gives you aiming idle stability. It doesn't have any cons. But the secret here is that you can equip it and you can tune it to get an even better aim down sight speed. So you're basically getting more stability and better aim down sight speed at no con, really. It's actually a really good attachment on a lot of different guns, so I encourage you guys to try it out. But if you want to go for more of the hip fire route, you're going to basically want to use any of the grips available that have hip fire accuracy as a bonus, because with these you can tune the hip fire accuracy slider up so that you have an even tighter spread. So if you want to go the hip fire route, use that point G3P laser along with one of these grips, and you're going to have a very tight hip fire, especially since on the Bryson 800 they did nerf the hip fire since it's a little wider, but on this gun it's pretty much the same. And if you're curious, all of these grips basically help the same amount in terms of how much they help your hip fire spread. There's like little tiny differences. They're not all exactly the same. It's just that they're so minimal. You're really okay with any of these that help hip fire accuracy. You don't have to go super in depth and check out each one. Just try one that works for you, that looks cool, whatever. As long as it helps your hip fire accuracy and you can tune it for that, just equip it. It really is not a big deal. As for the attachment tuning, I'll show that up on the screen now and kind of show it for each of the attachments that I showed and mentioned. Now overall, this build is amazing. The Bryson 890 is such a great gun for rushing because, I don't know if you knew this, but the Bryson 800 is a tad bit slower when it comes to its aim down sight speed and its base sprint to fire speed. The Bryson 890 is basically ahead of the Bryson 800 by a little bit when it comes to sprint to fire speed and aim down sight speed. Even though you don't have as much range, we're talking maybe like a meter or less of range, it's not that big of a deal. The Bryson 890, you get a magazine and it's just super snappy and super quick. I highly encourage you guys to check it out. I really do love it, and it is so much fun to use. And to be honest, it's almost as fun as using that small 8-inch barrel on the Bryson 800. It's just that much fun. But I want you guys to try it out and let me know what you think. This is more of a speed aggression type of class. If you're the type of player who likes to kind of sit back, maybe pick people off at range, you're probably better off with using a bigger barrel, tuning that for range, going with the improved choke and stuff like that. That's kind of where I would go if you were one of those players. But since I like to move around quite a bit and just get in people's faces, which is what you want to do with these type of shotguns, I would say this build is going to be one of the best. You really don't need a barrel on this. I promise you, you'll get plenty of range from the base gun with a little bit of tuning for damage range on the choke. So with that being said, guys, let me know what you think. Have you gotten a nuke in this game? What do you think of this build? What's your favorite shotgun? I'm just kind of curious now that we've gone over all 4 of them. So with that being said, guys, I will see you in the next shotgun video.
Rolling in.